a pain in the thank you. So if we're gonna, oh, nice pictures of us. Look at that. Yeah. Okay. So, and then who, Kelly, are you taking attendance or someone else is taking attendance? Sorry, I don't want to put that on you if it's not yours. Okay. So hi, everybody. I see so many faces coming in. And I'm so appreciative of everybody coming out. I know it's kind of late on the East Coast, although when I used to live on the East Coast, I used to be a little on the later side than us California folk out here that were like, it's freezing. It's 55. Oh my gosh, we got to go to bed. Yeah, we're all a little wimpy out here compared to the East Coast. So yeah, Heather, Jeremy, and Lisa are all on the East Coast, yes? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
in New
So,
York.
so thank you for coming to California tonight and to be on, because we also have a lot of other people that sign in and that come, even though they're not from women in film. So not necessarily always the members. So I'm going to go ahead and get started just so that I can get through some of this stuff. So this is our Breaking Boundaries self-distribution and direct-to-consumer model event. And it's presented by Women in Film San Francisco Bay Area. And I'm moderating tonight. My name is Julie Rubio. I'm president of Women in Film. And Nicole is going to be hosting along with Kelly and Olivia. Um, I really want to thank all of them for being here tonight, as well as everyone else that is arriving in. I'm, just kind of allowing all of our members to come in, but so appreciative for everybody to be coming out. So, welcome to Women in Film San Francisco Bay Area members and guests. And my name is Julie Rubio, and I'm president of Women in Film San Francisco Bay Area. And we're really thrilled to be here tonight. This program, I've been waiting for this program forever. It's Breaking Boundaries, Self-Distribution, Direct to Consumer. So we're recording the event, so please turn off your camera if you prefer not to be recorded. And Women in Film San Francisco Bay Area is a volunteer nonprofit, and we provide networking, education, and creative opportunities to over 10,000 members in the Bay Area and beyond. And our mission is to empower, promote, and celebrate women's creative work. On behalf of the board, which is Diane Walsh, Neil Ernindem, Kelly White, Nicole Carson, Amy Zen, Darlene DeRosa, and myself, I just want to thank everybody for joining. It's a little bit of housekeeping and a little bit about our community partners tonight. So before we begin, a few quick housekeeping notes. Please stay muted unless you're speaking, just because sometimes we end up hearing about what you're going to eat and who's where and what's going on. Type your questions in the chat anytime. And that way you can save the chat later on. And if you want to save the chat later on, just click on the three dots at the top of the chat window. And for your best experience, select speaker view. And that's going to be up there on the right-hand side in the corner. And Olivia's got our community partner slides going to be popping up here. And just a heartfelt thank you to our community partners, Black Women Directors, Jewish Film Institute, JFI, National Association of Latino Independent Producers, the Vine networking event, New York Women in Film and Television, that's our sister, and Women in Film Seattle. These partners are vital to our mission in amplifying women's voices in film and media, and they've been doing all kinds of social media for us about this event. So thank you so much. Tonight's discussion explores how independent filmmakers are redefining success through self-distribution and direct-to-consumer models. And our feature speakers is Lisa Hurwitz, director producer of the Automat, which premiered at the 2021 Telluride Film Festival and earned 4 Critics' Choice Documentary Award nominations, which is amazing. Lisa's film streamed on Max and plays on Turner Classic Movies. I watched it about a month and a half ago. It's amazing. She discovered her passion for cinema as a 35 millimeter projectionist, and she's honed her skills in art house programming, film festivals, and art admissions. And just currently, she's working on her highly anticipated docudrama Singles, continuing her mission to tell stories and captivate and inspire audiences. Jeremy Workman is also on tonight. He's the director of The Secret Mall Apartment, The World Before Your Feet, Lily Topples the World, and other acclaimed documentaries. And his films have screened at prestigious festivals like Tribeca, South by Southwest, DC Doc, and have been released theatrically on TV worldwide. His self-distributed Secret Mall Apartment has grossed nearly $900,000 in theaters. And The World Before Your Feet played in nearly 100 cities globally and holds a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And his short documentary, Deciding Vote, was shortlisted for the 96th Academy Award. So Jeremy is known for his innovative audiences and engagement and dedicated to telling deeply human stories through his films. Heather Spohr is also here tonight. So Heather's great. I've been working with Heather, picking her brain for years now, and she's helped me so much, along with Lisa. Oh my gosh, these are like sisters that have helped so much. She's a producer of the cult hit documentary Make Me Famous, which I always screw up and say. Now I can't even think of what I always say, but yeah, it's Make Me Famous. And now in its third year of ongoing 55 cities theatrical exclusive run, Heather is committed to championing bold, artistic driven stories and pioneering new approaches to independent film distribution. Make Me Famous became the #3 top grossing art documentary of 2023 and holds a perfect 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes as well. And beyond producing, Heather is known for her creative vision and her passion for bringing daring and unique films to audiences around the world. And myself, Julie Rubio, I am a film director, producer, writer. I'm also the president of Women in Film, and I founded East Meets West Productions in about 2022. And since then, I have been making independent films. My probably big acclaimed film years ago was East Side Sushi. Also Too Perfect, Six Sex Scenes and a Murder, Soledad's Gone Forever, Del Cielo. These have all been distributed on self-distribution, but also Netflix, HBO, Amazon Prime, etc., Samuel Goldwyn, and Sony Home. And my latest film is the true story of Tamar de Lempicka and the Art of Survival. So that's played all over the world right now. It's still playing, and we just sold out audiences throughout Spain and Malaga, the Pompidou, and things are going crazy with that. So we'll talk a little bit about that if anybody has questions. But I'm really honored to moderate this conversation, and I just want to be able to get to your questions. So I'm going to go ahead and get us going, and can look at a little bit about how our guests continue to shape the future of independent film, because that's really what they're doing. They're really changing things. So I would like to say hello to all of you guys, and thank you so much for our tech, for Nicole for bringing everybody on, and Olivia. And I just have a couple questions. So let's dive into the heart of tonight's conversation. Each of you will have a chance to respond to the following questions, but I'd really like to just get going. So will each of you just please tell us, introduce and tell us just a little bit about your latest film? So let's start, maybe let's go right to left here. My right is Lisa.
Well, my latest film is the only one that I've finished so far, but I do also distribute other people's films.
Smart.
So I've done some of that since my film came out. But yeah, my film is The Automat. It'll be on Turner Classic Movies next on December 11th, if you haven't seen it. And it's just it's been an incredible experience, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Great. Okay, Jeremy, you want to talk about your film for a second?
Sure, yeah. So my film came out this year. It's called Secret Mall Apartment. It was played in a lot of theaters in the Bay Area too. So some of the local people here might be remember it from this summer. So this was a movie that I made. We decided very early and very aggressively that we wanted to self-distribute it, that we didn't want to just sit around and hope that some distributor who frankly would not be that great, isn't even that great at their jobs, to be honest with you, would acquire the film. We decided that we wanted to kind of own it and to be very proactive, and we proceeded to release it this year. As Julie mentioned, we were in 250 theaters and grossed like $1 million and did really, really well. So I think from my vantage point, I'm only want to kind of now be involved in the self-releasing and kind of self-ownership of my films. That's kind of something that I'm thinking about with all my projects. I just finished a new movie, and I hope to do the same thing with that one as well. So yeah, I learned a lot, but we also kind of stuck to our guns and had like a lot of really followed through on things that we tried to do in terms of getting the film out, promoting it, marketing it, really, being both grassroots and traditional. And I could talk about that as well. But it was a very strategic plan that I feel like is right for the times that we're in.
Oh, great. Okay, so hold that because my next question is going to lead into that, but I want to ask Heather, if you can tell us just a little bit about your film.
Yeah, my name is Heather Spoor, and I produced Make Me Famous with my husband. We're a husband and wife filmmaking duo. And the film came out in New York City after about a year of festival. Uh, no like top tier film festival for us. We opened at the New Fest LGBTQ Film Festival, and we did about 15 film festivals. And then we just decided uh, we were going to try to, get it out into the world. And we kind of went a roundabout way. Instead of opening in New York, we opened in Toronto because that was what opportunity we had. And we opened in Toronto. We got incredible press. We were extended for another week there. And then a theater in London called, and we want to, play you here. And got another theater on board like literally 2 days before we left. And sometimes, the theaters are all listening to what each other are playing.
Mhm.
And so we were like a surprise hit in London. We ran for 3 weeks there.
That's
And yeah, and then we decided, well, our film is about New York City in the 1980s. It's about that downtown art scene that's mostly known for Basquiat and Keith Haring, but there was this incredibly energetic creative movement that came out of New York City, and we kind of take the vantage point of one of the striving artists. And so it wasn't about a famous person. We had like the boulder to carry uphill as far as building our audience, but we slowly did it with social media. We have almost 10,000 followers, and I still believe in social media, getting the word out in a grassroots way. Um,
Heather, that leads me to my
yeah,
question, because I'm going to let you
yeah.
answer it and then I'll go back to everybody else. But before you began the film, did you have a business plan? Like it sounds like Jeremy
Oh, no.
did. And did you have an audience? And did you have a self distribution kind of plan along with social media? Like was that already built there? Or is that something you built
Well,
along the way?
the thing is, we finished our film like right before COVID, as many people did, and everything shut down, and so I used that time to learn about social media. You guys, like, you can learn about this stuff from YouTube. I mean, you can go on there and start learning the lingo, start learning how to build an audience, start learning, these content creators are so generously sharing, their secrets. And I learned that and started learning through social media how I was going to talk to my audience. So we hadn't come out yet, um, even in a film festival. And you just kind of learn what they respond to and what they don't respond to. And it's a really great kind of you know, test area where you can like fail and it's okay.
Yeah.
And the word got out. We just kept growing and growing and posting every day. And and so I do believe that social media very oftentimes will help us sell out. Um, our very first New York screening was a kind of a sneak peek screening at the New York, um, Museum of the City of New York. And we did a collab post with them on their social media. And the thing hit 500,000 views, and we sold out within 48 hours. And
Beautiful.
so, you tell people that you sell out and they can't get tickets, and well, guess what? They want to know when the next one is,
Yeah, definitely.
Even if you don't sell out, you're getting the word out in a consistent way about your film.
Exactly.
And
Yeah. Lisa, did you have a business plan? Did you have a audience already built in, and was there already a distribution plan, or uh, was this something that you just kind of did afterwards?
The plan was to find someone to sell it to when it was finished, and the closest we got to that was licensing deals. I was approached at the premiere at Telluride by Turner Classic Movies, and they, told me right then and there we're interested in this, and we exchanged info, and that's like when the conversation started, but it didn't kind of turn into the sort of deal that I had envisioned. And it took a like really dragged my feet on finalizing that agreement, because I was still hoping that something better would come along. And it didn't. So uh, our fortunes kind of turned, though, when Film Forum contacted me about having a theatrical run in New York City. And at that point, well, then I guess we should do LA too. And LA didn't do very good, but New York did really good. And I do regret that I didn't try to negotiate the percentage with Film Forum at all. I didn't even know that I could. So I
Yeah.
didn't end up with an amazing, well, not even, let's not use the word amazing, but like I bet they would have agreed to a higher percentage.
Yeah.
So yeah, it did things kind of, it wasn't a plan in advance. It was just how things were kind of happening,
Yeah. And you were just kind of rolling with the punches and kind of figuring it out. I mean, this is your
figuring
first.
out as we went
Yeah.
along. And that worked out fine, especially because as things were kind of getting bigger and bigger and getting out of control and too much for me to handle alone, I was able to find people with expertise in distribution to surround myself with, and they were able to take on some of the things. It's stuff
Yeah.
it would never have occurred to me that after, it premiered it theatrically at Film Forum, then all of a sudden it's like you've got 70 movie theaters in one week contacting me. And at that point, I'm on the road, and Jeremy knows, like in some cases like 3 states in one week, because the film was that popular.
Yeah.
So
It's insane. That's insane. I mean, that's like a good problem to have, right? But it's also still a problem, and you're trying to figure it out as you go. Jeremy, you want to tell us a little bit about did you have a plan? It sounds like you had kind of a business plan and you knew that you wanted to self-distribute, which is, gosh, such
Yeah.
a breath of fresh air. And did you have a which is more popular now, but I mean,
Yeah.
this was years ago, right? And so how.
No, no, this was 2 years ago.
Yeah, but still,
Yeah,
2 years ago, I mean,
sure.
we've changed a lot in these last two
Yeah.
years. I'm wondering also, did you already have your social media built in? So,
Well, yeah, so I could run up to that a little bit. I mean,
okay,
I think a lot of my approach for Secret Mall Apartment was informed by my last three features before it. I had one feature that I couldn't get playing in any film festival, not one, like it just got rejected by
yeah,
30 festivals in a
yeah,
row. So I was kind of understanding the distribution world from that vantage point when with that film, then my follow-up film got bought, and then was released in like 100 theaters. And I sort of was brought into like, oh, this is how you work with a distributor. And then the next film was one of those like dream kind of bidding wars where you're at a
Wow.
festival and there's a big buyer and the phone lines are burning up and you're hearing like numbers going up and all that. So I had, in a span of like 6 years, I had experienced the whole gamut of making documentaries, releasing them at festivals, and like what can happen,
Yeah.
and where there could be like total crickets, there's nobody interested, to there's big streamers that are throwing seven-figure deals at you. And I think it taught me that, like, it's something that I said like right at the top, which was like I was sort of weirdly not impressed with any of the players. I didn't feel that, oh, just because we had a distributor, it parted the waves and everything was going to be terrific. I still felt like on those projects that I still had to do so much myself.
Mm.
I still felt that even with the film that, ended up selling for a lot of money, it I don't even know if that experience was that great. It just was like siloed on some streaming site, and you
Wow.
know, I don't, I, no one really sees the movie. So I had just kind of like experienced like all this in this kind of rush of these years. So when Secret Mall Apartment came, I was like, okay, can't we do a lot of this ourselves? And as Lisa mentioned, and Heather too, just like I started to realize like, oh wow, there's a lot of this is not that complicated, and there are a lot of people that are in distribution and in exhibition that can really help filmmakers. And you don't need, especially now, you don't need all these sort of gatekeepers to kind of say it's okay to release your film. And certainly, so we kind of knew that that was one of our plans. If like Netflix had come and said, "Hey, Jeremy, here's $1 billion for Secret Mall Apartment," of course we would have done that. But we also knew that like we were strong without that, and we kind of seized social media the way that Heather was talking about, where also like I'm not some social media expert. I'm not like on, Instagram and TikTok all day, but it's not that complicated. And we were able to kind of understand how to, amplify and use theaters. I think what Lisa mentioned about how Film Forum in New York, but her film was there, and it just kind of blew up. Now suddenly all these other theaters across the country now are interested. That was really obvious to us as well. Like we would play, do well, get good reviews, and then instantly it was like this ripple effect of other theaters that were interested.
So
So
they were reaching out to you instead of
yes,
reaching out
yes,
to them.
yes. In our case, we, hired a booker,
Oh, you
right?
did. You
We
hired a
did. We did. We
okay.
hired a booker for Secret Mall Apartment. That's different from like what Lisa was saying, where she was doing most of this herself. We hired a professional who knew all the theaters and helped navigate that. But we still, what the difference was, we didn't have a distributor who was like, okay, well, we're going to take our 50% or 80%, whatever it is first. We are just going to put the film out in theaters ourselves, and then earn the lion's share from that. So
I
we
did
we
hire a booker.
you did?
After all
Yeah.
the inquiries started coming in, and yes,
Yeah, it got overwhelming and then you hired a
yeah.
booker. Okay.
Yeah, so there's all these people. So, some of this sounds like it's, very, it's some secret science, but it's not. There's, you could hire a booker. There's a lot of them because there's a lot of theatrical bookers that are not working right now because there's not a lot of
Yeah.
theatrical releases.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that are familiar with that world. Then in our case, we hired a publicist. There's publicists all over the place that help navigate the release. And sometimes you could also work with like a marketing company or a vendor that's creating content, and you're creating trailers and those kind of pieces as well. So suddenly we live in an era now, whereas though documentary is like having some struggles, it's also a time when things are so kind of fractured that you could do a lot of this yourself. So that
Yeah,
was something that we kind of decided to do very early, and yeah, just kind of stuck with it.
I will
it's
say
remarkable, and it's
Jeremy's, sorry.
no, I was just going to say that's remarkable, and I think that I know that Heather and I are doing it a completely different way. We don't have a booker, but go ahead, Lisa. What were you going to say?
Jeremy's topic matter for his film already had a built-in audience, and the types of people that were that audience were the type of people who would like want to like go with their friends to like a fun movie screening.
This is very true. I mean, the Secret Mom Apartment is not some like, serious expose about, whatever, climate change or something.
Yeah.
It's a fun, entertaining movie. So, but we use that to our advantage. We really played that up as, as a way to kind of market it, and that was in the marketing as well.
And Heather, do you want to talk and speak a little bit to uh did you hire a booker? I know you didn't hire a booker, and I know you are your own booker, and I know that you stand out in front of theaters and get people in your theaters. I mean, I know what you've done, but they don't know what you've done, so please tell us.
Yeah, so if you can't afford a booker, you can do this on yourself. It's not going to be scaled up to you know the nth degree, but you can do it in your own way, right? I didn't know anything about distribution. I also, I was a voracious learner from people are sharing their information. People like John Reese is doing,
Mhm.
I'm sure has talked to both of you guys, Lisa and Jeremy. He shares case studies. Sundance has on their website case studies. People like Alex Ferrari, Ted Hope, Peter Broderick, Show and Tell, Keith over there. They're all sharing information. Right. And so really what you need to know is like what are terms and what's kind of the going rate.
Yes.
And you're always, kind of trying to figure that out. Um, New York has kind of a going rate with some, when you're at a theater that is selling food is maybe a little bit more lucrative, and a little lower when you're in one of the theaters in New York because everybody wants to open in New York. So I found that New York was a kind of a lower rate, but you
Yeah,
can
it is. It's way lower than other cities. Yeah.
So
yeah,
when you guys say lower, because you have to understand some of these people are just making their film for the first time. We're talking, you're not getting 50-50 necessarily, or you're,
not in New York.
or okay, so if you are, let's say, in another state and your film's doing really well, you can do 50-50, right?
Sure.
Okay.
You can ask for whatever you want, and you should be bold. I say be bold because sometimes when I'm the boldest and I just say no, I'm not doing it for that. Then sometimes they cave. Um, Getting the money from them is another thing. I'm telling you, when you're doing this self-distribution, you need to be prepared to also be the accountant. I mean, if you have a booker, I'm sure that's what you're paying for, partly getting the money. But we didn't do that, and I started to become really proud that we didn't do that. Like at a certain point, people would say, "You should hire my booker," and I'm like, "Well, I already played half the theaters you played, right?" So I kind of was like, well, at this point, like I need to like break it apart and like learn how to do it from the ground up, right?
Yeah.
And so if you can learn the terminology and you can, ask people, and there's lots of people sharing information.
Oh,
Um,
You and Lisa have been so
you can
helpful.
call
Yeah,
theaters,
yeah.
but you can't be. You have to make sure like your film is something that they are going to program. For my film, it's an art documentary. Julie and I have, we commiserate on the art side of things, but there's a lot of film festivals that focus on art. There's a lot of indie uh, theaters who have like little strands, like there's a exhibition on screen, which is kind of like a $25, I don't know, maybe they charge $35, and people go and they see like a taped, um, museum display, like kind of a little documentary museum situation in the theater. And I always hit up all those people because my film, will speak to their audience that is already coming to see these other things. So you have to just, you have to do the research, and you can find out, maybe who would be playing a film like yours in the recent past.
Yeah, I mean, I know with my film, we're playing all over the place from museums to theaters to Art Deco societies to now I'm doing corporate, which is mind-bending. Um, and I feel that we were talking about this before with Heather and Lisa and with Jeremy that I really felt, you know, originally when I've done my first films, I got ripped off by every single distributor I ever went with and every sales rep I ever went with. I was always in the red. I never made money, no matter how well the film was doing. I remember one year, one of my films was #2 that summer on Netflix. I didn't make any money. I was always in the red. It's like, oh yeah, we're charging you another $25,000 for a new trailer, or we traveled here.
Sure.
And so I was always in the red. And so with this particular film, yes, I wanted everyone to see it, but also I wanted to make my money back. And otherwise, you can't keep going. There's nothing sexy about being a starving artist. And that's really what I've been for the last, 20, 30, 25 years. So being able, my husband is my co-producer, Blake Wellen, and he took over. Like I thought I was, I lost my mom making the film. I lost my best friend a month after, and I just dedicated the film to them. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna make this happen. I'm gonna put all my sweat, all my tears, make something beautiful, happen. And I did. And then I was exhausted because it's over, right? And it's like, help. And I handed the baton to my husband and he just took over. So he's like the accountant who's amazing and so proficient and very anal when it comes to making sure people pay and they can't even have the link unless they absolutely have paid and they've signed our contract. And he's handling the contracts and he's handling the deals and he's closing the deals with, some of the biggest museums in the world, some of the nicest theaters in the world, some of the best universities. And I am finding that everything that I was told, like you cannot show your film at a theater. Well, yeah, you can before you show it at a film festival. Yeah, you can. You just have to have it be a sneak peek. I think Heather was the one that taught me that. Lisa taught me a couple other things that I had no idea about. I didn't know because I didn't have anybody to talk to, and that's why I wanted to do this tonight because I really think that no one talks about money. I mean, when you said $900,000, Jeremy, I was like, I got to talk to this guy. What the hell? Because no one talks about money and no
Yeah.
one, no one talks about independent films making money and self-distributing doesn't make you money supposedly, but it can transform everything if we can just figure this out and understand that this is a business. I had worked for 5 years on getting my social media up, and I had 13,000 followers on Instagram. I had 55,000 on Facebook. Those help get the word out, as Heather said, when it came to like emailing people out and stuff. So I really think, or not emailing, but social media, getting the word out. Um,
That said,
yeah.
everyone here has to understand that when you're making $900,000 at the box office, you have to incorporate, you're not, you're getting a cut from the theater. Also, you're paying a publicist, you're paying a booker, you're paying a marketing, maybe a social media person, you may be paying a designer. These things all come with costs. Even with us, we didn't hire some of these professionals, and we did hire a publicist in all the major cities. But you have to know that your theatrical is probably not going to be your revenue generator. Okay, but if you can get it to be where you like break even and maybe make a little, be in the profit, think about all the travel expenses. If you're going to be supporting it with Q&As, indie theaters, really respond well if the filmmakers are going to be at the event. And if you can bring that, they're more apt to give you screenings. And when you get screenings, you might be able to get publicity. And when you have successful screenings, you can ask them to, review you on Rotten Tomatoes, and you can start developing, what industry data is, you know, is something that the industry can understand, that, oh, hey, this is a success because this and this.
Yeah.
But you have to understand. I think a lot of people don't realize how much money it takes to get the hundreds of beavers is another great thing, to look into them. But they spent oodles of money, promoting it. Luckily, in that case, like, they were an ad agency or a creative agency, so they were not charging back what they were putting in. And that said, you're going to be putting in a lot of hours that you're not going to be like charging back.
Yeah.
You won't see that blood, sweat, and tears. But what if you pop out on the end and you've been able to have a theatrical experience? Well, then you can, like Lisa's the queen of, like, getting airlines, and you can get maybe an airline deal, or maybe you can, start putting it out there with an aggregator, and, play all the windows that you can,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you did well, or that you had some semblance of a theatrical.
Yeah, I did want to ask Lisa and all of you, but if we could go back to Lisa, self-distribution, how did that decision transpire? And I know that you've gone off and on self-distribution here. So I guess what I'm wondering is, I think a lot of people are like, I can't self-distribute because I won't be able to get a deal. It seems like to me you've gotten your movie back and then you've went ahead and went a more traditional route, like a Netflix or an Amazon. Can people still get a deal after they've decided to self-distribute?
I think it's really, really, really hard for anybody to get a streaming deal. Jeremy, right? Jeremy? Yeah,
Yeah,
really.
sure, but it is enhanced, as we've said already. Like, if there is a higher profile with the theatrical, it will be enhanced, and there'll be a higher chance of that. But yes, it is very hard.
My streaming deal was already in the works before the theatrical. And part of the under agreement with this streaming deal was because it was a small amount of money that they would accept. They would let me have a year to do my thing with it. And then, like, there was a delay with that, and that was in, so it, I guess the order of operations is a little different than maybe what one would think. And maybe, and so, yeah,
But
I
that's
mean,
wonderful.
Jeremy is
That's
saying that
wonderful.
you do the theatrical, then it raises the profile, then you get the deal. I'm sure it can also work that way too. And I don't I don't think just sitting and waiting for a deal is how I would go. I don't think that's how Jeremy would go. The clock starts ticking as soon as the film premieres, and the longer you wait, the harder it is to start getting screenings.
Yeah, I recently have been offered a Netflix deal if I want it, when I want it, and they're willing to let me go the next year. So I'm okay with going this next year and then circling back around, because at this point, feel like once it goes there, it will go off onto some, what'd you call it, Jeremy, a silo? Like, it's going to go
Yeah,
off onto,
it's
it's where my independent film's going to go to die, so to speak.
yeah, it's not gonna. It once it hits streaming, you're not gonna get. I mean, there's still some life to it, but it's gonna be harder. It's gonna be more fractured. It's gonna be a little bit more harder. But
I'm
there'll still be education. There'll still be airlines. There'll still be international.
Yeah. And
for, for
would
me, the going on HBO Max did not hinder uh my screenings.
your
Hmm.
theatrical screenings?
It did. Well, we were done when we finally went on HBO Max, we had just finished our fifth consecutive month playing in New York City, and then we went on to Max, and the theatricals at that point were done, but the film was still doing tons of screenings. Film is still doing lots of
Yeah.
screenings. I have a screening this week. I have a screening next week. So yeah, for me personally, it because I have like some niche audiences. The film can plays well to architecture, design audiences. It plays well to Jewish audiences, and there's a whole those two things have their own kind of circuits. And
Yes.
I think for some of them, it's like the fact that it's online makes having me there as a speaker like a bigger get. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
And
it's from
are
an
they,
HBO Max director, Turner, you know.
can I ask, do they pay you to come and speak?
So I became more kind of snobby, I guess, about that as the process went on, and I realized like what I could command. And so with theatrical stuff, the answer is no. Theatrical, I was like paying, like it was in my best interest for me to get myself to Florida, you know, for opening weekend in Palm Beach, and do as many Q&As as I could. But when you've got a synagogue or a Jewish film festival, absolutely.
They're paying you. Okay. Good.
Library for me, absolutely. There are some regular film festivals that are not like the niche festivals that don't won't do that. But if they won't do that, I was still able to, well, I need money for food. I like I need every single expense cover, you know. So there were still ways to like get some extra money, but like just kind of framing it differently. But
Exactly.
I
But
also
not
know that like I was able to command that because the film became
it.
popular, and like let's say I have another film in the future that isn't as popular, I don't know that I'll be able to like command that.
Exactly. So, Jeremy, my question to everybody so far has been self-distribution and what made you kind of turn off from traditional uh, distribution and have the guts to self-distribute and go for this and have this kind of revenue in this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it had a lot to do with what I was saying before, where I'd kind of experienced like that side of it. And, a lot of distributors, you think you've kind of won the lottery ticket when you have a distributor, but really you have to remember that they are working on many movies and they're going to put a lot of focus on your movie and they might put a lot of money behind your movie, but it's going to last 3 weeks because the next one is coming right after for them.
Yeah.
And they're not thinking about your movie in terms of the long haul. They're thinking about it in a very sort of short window. And they have lots of movies they're working on. They're already, there's so many times when you're on like a call with a publicist or a distributor, and they're not talking about your movie. They're talking about like the next ones, and you just start realizing that like, they're not going to put your movie on their back. It's just kind of like a more of an assembly line for them. So you have to, that kind of made me realize like, okay, I could certainly do this as well as them and be more committed. The other thing that I definitely wanted to mention, and it was something that I was thinking about when both Heather and Lisa were talking, was it's something that I think all the listeners and viewers should really understand, which is theaters, all these independent theaters across the United States, they want your movie.
Oh yeah, they need it.
They need it. They need it for their audiences. They're interested in your movie. When I first like started this, I thought like, oh, these movie theaters, they only want, the Oscar contenders. They only want movies from these like, cool companies like A24, and that's what they want. That's all they want.
That's what
And
they
I was so wrong.
No, but
They,
that's what they used to want.
I
That
know.
was the rule. But the
That,
rule changed
it
because
totally it no longer theaters are almost like after COVID, theaters became almost like I guess almost like a mini film festival where they know their audience, they know their clientele, who's coming to the movie theater. They want to bring them interesting stuff that's not just the same thing that every theater is playing in every town. So they are very interested to hear from you. And they're really interested to hear, like, if you have a quirky or unique film or a film that might appeal to their audience, they're going to listen. And you don't have to have some big, gigantic distributor behind you to get booked. And that applies not just to theaters, but as Lisa with the Automat has been doing so much, like all these specialty, you know, screening venues as well, whether it's museums or libraries or kind of cultural places as well. They're all looking for movies.
And it's so
But they're
Yes.
not all going to listen.
oh,
Let's be honest, because uh, you know I can target somebody that I just know is going to, they have the clientele for my film, and maybe they go through a booker and they will not talk to me, even though my film will do great at their place. But sometimes it's also gate kept within inch of its life, but there are theaters that are not. And so when Jeremy says they need your film, there are some theaters like that, and a great many theaters like that. And so what you have to do is suss out, like, who's playing Make Me Famous. Like, you can already tell, like, they're going to be open to your film, right? If it I can just you can go and find out where we played. I went and I found out where Lisa's film played, and I was like, maybe she's an indie film, she's doing this herself, as well. I thought, you can follow along in the footsteps. But it's not always going to be easy, and you have to be creative and let them know what you're bringing to the table. How are you going to get people there? So maybe if you partner with a local organization,
Sure.
you can use their mailing list to help get there. You have to be creative.
yeah.
um,
Yes, that's a good
y-
point, Heather.
yeah.
We've been partnering with the Polish Institutes because Tomorrow is Polish, and also Art Deco because it's a centennial of Art Deco. Just happened that my movie came out during that time. And so to be able to have them community partner with us, fly us out, sponsor us, and then, they call in all of their connections as well as partnering. Like we just did that with the Thyssen-Bornemisza and, sold out there in Spain, but we had the Polish Institute behind us. And we did that in New York where the Art Deco Society came out to Lincoln Square at Lincoln Center, and we sold out both screenings there along with the Jewish Film Festival. So, we had the Jewish, we had the Polish, and we had the Art Deco, and we sold out both screenings, over 300 people. So I think definitely doing the business side of it, getting those relationships with those partners, I think that's a really great point, Heather. And I want to know if there's anything that I've left on the table here for any of you guys when it comes to negotiating deals and maximizing your revenue, um, while maintaining your independence. Or is there a strategy that you guys have found effective? Who wants to take that? It's kind of a big
In
one.
terms of negotiating with theaters or
With
with
anyone.
I think I have always said that, people are always trying to kind of tell you that your movie's not doesn't have value.
Right?
That's yeah. Yeah. And it's something where you hear this like all through the industry that like, oh, your movie has no value. So you should give it away for free.
Right?
And I think it's important for filmmakers, for independent filmmakers, for documentary filmmakers to not be gaslit that way, and to say like, no, no, my movie has value, even if it's not super, mainstream, even if it's niche, or if it's topical, or it's about something, a social issue, it's going to have a lot of value for viewers. And once you realize that, I've always felt like you should be pretty aggressive about asking for what you think should deserve with it, and you shouldn't be shy. And you should ask. I always like ask for more. I know Lisa probably does as well. It's just the only way to kind of get out of the profit, the being in the red is you have to be very aggressive.
Yes.
But that said, don't follow up with the theater and say, and so I will be bringing 15 comp, you know,
Exactly.
personally, we never ask for comps. If it's a film festival and people are paying a lot of money, yes, we suck up all of the comps that we're allowed. But when we are at a theater, we even as the filmmakers, we buy our own tickets because one, that goes to our box office. Two, that shows the theater that we're willing to support them. They're supporting us by giving us an opportunity to make money. And that also means like don't ask your filmmaker friend who's telling you to come see their film if you can have a free ticket.
Wow.
Pay the money. The thing is, the more people that go to these documentaries, these little niche, films that are curated, and pay the ticket, these people will continue to book them. What happens is people don't go and they take a chance on an independent film, and then why would they take a chance on someone else?
Yeah.
Because nobody showed up for that other film. So
Wow.
so support the theater and let them know that you're going to be out there. Sometimes we go out on the street, and I know what was the filmmaker that recently did the sandwich board in front of the theater, right? Some well-known
Oh,
indie.
Smashing Machine did that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we do that all the time. And I'm telling you that face-to-face contact, yeah, it's annoying. Yes, it's hard work. Yes, it's tiring. But you're the filmmaker, and a lot of people really like to hear from the filmmaker. And you can probably get 15 people, the day before, just pitching at the theater to come back and see your film. And
Yeah.
then, this is what happens. Generally, you're not going to be booked as a week-long run. Now, let's say, you guys have had films that were in better, more prominent film festival. But we kind of had to be scrappy, and you can ask for a week, or you can say, hey, the thing is, most of these distributors are demanding a week, and they're A24 is going to have those weeks,
Yep.
right? And so what you can do is say maybe on a Monday night, or we'll do a special event, and you want to eventize. John Reese is always talking about eventizing, your screening. But if you can say, hey, we do traditional weeks, well, we'd be happy to support the full week. But if you want to throw us, some of your off nights, this is the thing in New York. Like, we played the Roxy Theater, and we kind of cobbled together our theatrical in New York. When we finally did it, we did, 4 screenings at the Roxy. We had 3 screenings at New Plaza Cinema, which is like on a weekend, like they are a weekend only cinema. And then we rounded out at the Alamo Draft House. We somehow, got them to program us on Monday and Tuesday. And what happens is you do well or you sell out, and they're surprised. And you know what
Yeah.
they do? They throw you another screening. We
Yep.
played for 6 weeks at the Roxy,
That's
and
beautiful.
those tickets were $18.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
My husband in the background is saying 6 months.
Nice. Nice.
It's not every week, and these people have to curate. That's a theater that does like 35 millimeter. And so, they're kind of like more the film forumy crowd. They expect to see, repertory films here and there, but they kept back coming back. If the word of mouth can happen, and you're supporting the theater, and they're seeing that they're actually making money with you. Some theaters won't give you any extra because they're already booked, but
Yeah,
some
that's
theaters will
great.
push people,
Yeah.
you
Right, but
know,
sometimes those single one-off screenings, you could generate like more in the one night than you would if you were in for a week and didn't have as many tickets sold.
Yes.
yeah.
It's a definitely an interesting thing. I have another question for you guys before we're going to open up to the audience. Can you share one of the best decisions you've made along this self-distribution journey and one of them that you might approach differently now in hindsight that 2020 is so clear? Lisa, you want to go? Hello?
I probably would have a better answer to this if I wasn't like a dummy, because you would think that by now, like I would have like this answer prepared, but I guess people don't ask it very much. I probably not taking the best decision was not taking the deals that were offered, and I mean there were other deals presented to me, and I was like I felt that they were beneath me and that I could do better myself. I I feel like Jeremy said, even like with a big deal like on a streamer that should with for a lot of money that should make you really happy, but then it gets all siloed and the film doesn't really get to have much of a life. Uh, I'm I sort of feel grateful that I didn't get offered that big deal for this film, because I don't, I think my life could be totally different. It was just an amazing experience and I learned so much. And it, like like Jeremy said, I'm also motivated to like to do it again and to keep keep going with this method.
Yes. Yes. And is something you'd approach differently?
I don't know, come back to me.
Okay, okay, Jeremy, what was your best decision
I
along?
mean, best decision is probably just like Lisa, where we had offers, you know. The Secret Mall Apartment it's a really fun movie and it's, you know, people like it, audiences like it. We had offers. It just they weren't gonna do anything. They weren't, you know, it was at a point you say like, okay, well, we could kind of just put the movie on here and that's a win. But then it just never felt like we would make any money or anyone would see it. So we decided to obviously not do that, and that was the best decision. The worst decision, I mean, this is a little bit inside baseball, but we went down a path where we said, oh, let's try to sell the movie on Amazon, you know, like just like everybody does, you know, instead of, you know, just kind of like Amazon Prime and anyone could rent it right now, Secret Mall Apartment on Amazon Prime. But we put a lot of money behind those kind of like Amazon ads, you know, tiles and you know
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff to rig the algorithm, and that was so against how we were approaching our release. It was so not in the original like sort of mindset of being scrappy and being DIY that it didn't really help us. And you know, it was very much the attitude of like a studio where you just pay, you know, Amazon to highlight your movie and that's what you do. And we tried to do that and it just was a fail. So that was a mistake on our part.
I'm
And
so happy.
yeah, and but I think the larger point of that is like when we tried to like pretend that we were not the scrappy DIY release, that we were something else, that's when we failed.
Yes. Okay,
I
great.
will say though that I had a little bit of a different experience than Jeremy with
Yeah.
that. Not with the tiles, because I decided I didn't want to do like increase my placement by paying, but I had a lot of success running Facebook ads. I put a lot of money into Facebook ads. They were working really well for that film. Also, another film that I distributed had we had a lot of success with Facebook ads. So, but I do regret that I wish I had been more scrappy when it came to my awards campaign, because I put too much money into the awards campaign and it was just silly because the film never had a shot at like the
Academy.
Oscars, like so
Yeah.
yeah, I would have spent that money differently.
Okay, that's super interesting and helpful. Heather, any what was the best decision you made along this self-distributing way and that you're still on, and what may you would wish that you approached differently?
Well, just so people understand, I'm kind of at the early stages of our, everyone talks about these windows. And if you can exploit all the windows, you're going to start with your theatrical. We've done our theatrical. We're still doing our theatrical. We have screenings in Florida coming up in 2026 and going to continue. We're going to try to certify fresh. We're 3 reviews away from certified fresh. And so, I'm kind of trying to figure out if that's going to help us in the long run. But so these guys, Lisa's more, towards the end of her windows, and she's already got, deals where she's broadcasting. And Jeremy, right, you're kind of midway, or you're in your streaming window or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we've slow rolled it. Uh because the theaters really kind of demanded exclusivity. That's another thing. We kind of stuck with that because we wanted to try to get it out to all the as many major markets as we can. But as far as where I am in our distribution journey, I feel like it is a blessing not to get a distributor, because I mean, you can get in the Facebook groups about how people are bitching and moaning about their distributors, and you won't see a dime after your MG if you even get an MG. And there's sort of horror stories after horror stories. So I feel like one of the best things we did, although it is exhausting, is that I learned all the jobs. I learned how to be a booker. I learned how to, get them, how to be the bad guy and demand my money back. My when theaters weren't paying me. I learned how to be a publicist. Because I couldn't afford a publicist after the major releases, and I got more than half of our tomato reviews just by researching and learning. So I have an understanding, so that if I ever do work with a team, like, I know what they all do and I understand their value. And so if you know the lingo, you're going to be more successful, I think. I'm hoping. As far as what would I do differently? I would say, as a first-time filmmaker, do not rush to submit your film to Sundance. They don't want to see your rough cut. They won't watch it. Nobody gets into, these big film festivals cold. They've got people helping them along the way. And we were under the guise that maybe, we could get into something like Tribeca because our film is about New York. Um, it's just these people, you go and you bring the shiniest, most beautiful film. They're going to be begging, oh, we will just really, really want to see it. Sales agents will want to. Film Forum wanted to see our film. Yeah, okay, but don't send them a rough cut. Like, make sure the music is dazzling, the sound edit is amazing. Like, um, you know, you're you're going to just be better off if everybody sees your film in the most beautiful way, because these programmers are not going to watch it twice. you
Yep.
know
I'm not gonna blow my
I
shot.
had a bit of a different experience with that when we got into the Telluride Film Festival. They accepted it with a very rough cut.
Wow. Okay, great to know. Okay, so
No,
this,
and with the understanding that by the time of the festival, it was going to be resolved.
yes, yes. Okay, so that's interesting. It just shows you
Yeah.
there's no absolutes, right? With any of this stuff, and that's the confusing part of it, I think, for so many filmmakers. Last question before we go to the audience. When would each of you decide to put your film on some type of streaming platform, whether that's going with the big boys and going with Netflix if they want it, and or just doing like an eventive program or something maybe hybrid in between. Is there a sweet spot there where you felt, Jeremy, finally we're going to go and put it on to Prime? because so many people will say, well, why didn't you just put it on to a streaming platform right off the bat? And it's like, well,
Jeremy went on Prime really fast.
okay, so this is,
No, I didn't. We
wait,
I
were
wait,
in
felt
wait.
theaters for
that
6 months.
you
Okay,
didn't
so,
even start really doing non-theatrical
That's
screenings. You
right.
went
That's
straight
right.
from theatrical.
That's right.
You did some a little festival
Yeah.
theatrical and then straight to, yeah. So I don't think Jeremy really fully exploited his, like there could have been a bigger, I think, non-theatrical window for Jeremy before he went on to
True.
TiVo.
True.
yeah, it's
True.
interesting. People will say, hey, listen, why don't you, if you have 20 people, if you have 300 people paying $20 to go see your film and you're getting 50% of that, that's a lot better than getting a dollar 99 of a 5.99 off of a streamer.
That's if you
Correct.
have access to your
Right.
to your people. If you can drive people to your film, doing an inventive is, I mean, that's golden. I mean, what is the doc? The guy who does all the Helvetica and what's that
Gary
guy's name?
Hughes, Gary
Gary
Husler.
Hughes is the
Yeah.
prince of like
He's great.
corralling his audience. I mean, if you want to learn how it's done, like he gives a master class, just watch everything he does. You
What's his
know,
name?
Gary Hughes, he did the
You know,
documentary, which
Okay.
is that this year
last
documentary?
year.
I'll have to.
Last year it was nominated
Okay. So, like,
for an
Heather,
Academy.
when will you go to streaming?
Well, streaming is like the biggest movie shelf out there, right? And so we're really just try to explore. We're going to try to certify fresh to see if that will help our indie film. Our film it does not have a famous person in it. It is not about a famous person. It's kind of based on nostalgia and um, and so we don't have a fancy executive producer. We don't have any other driving forces. We're kind of like probably most of you guys out there, like scrappy. And so I think it'll probably be in the next year. But as soon as we certify fresh, probably I'll try to exploit that. We got an airline distributor, so hopefully we'll get something going in 2026.
And
Maybe
yeah,
you can
getting
talk
certified
about
fresh
how
is
Jeremy
helpful.
got Jesse Eisenberg and to be his executive producer and how that completely changed his
All
trajectory.
right.
It
Yeah,
totally
yeah,
did.
yeah. Tell us about that, Jeremy.
I
Tell
mean,
us.
I think
How do
so.
you do that?
On my one, two, I've had three films in a row with celebrity executive producers, and I'm in the middle of trying to get a celebrity EP on my newest film. And it's absolutely something that I think I would encourage if you can. And it really, really helps. It's another way to open doors. It's another way to attract audiences. It'll excite theater buyers, theater exhibitors, everybody. So it's crass and commercial, and it's one of those things where you're like, oh, you're just getting some famous person to put their name on it, but there's a reason why it really, really helps. So if you have a way to do that, it's certainly worth exploration. They don't have to be super, super famous, but if they have, they don't even have to be in the film industry. We're talking to a famous snowboarder now for my new film as an
I
executive producer. So I just think it's something that like it's another tactic, it's another strategy
I
of
love that.
yeah, of trying to figure out how to disrupt, how to do this in a way where you're going to get, as Heather said, it's kind of not a meritocracy out there, whether it's festivals or bookings. So you have to figure out like how you could kind of go around the system. And that's a way that I see changes a lot.
Jeremy,
Yeah,
there's a question in the chat. What do you have to give a celebrity EP?
It depends. Some celebrity EPs want a profit share, but as we've pointed out, sometimes it's hard to get profit on documentaries. So you could also just say, yeah, well, we'll give you some points, but they may not get them. Other celebrities don't care. There's a lot of celebrities that are involved and, have foundations or are doing stuff on the side. In the case of Jesse Eisenberg with me, he was somebody I knew. He's a friend, so that really obviously helped. But on another film of mine, I've approached people cold, and I'll reach out to their agent or their management And sometimes it's as simple as Googling, and you find who their production company is, and you write a nice letter.
That's fantastic. I mean, it's really a whole other
Oh,
way of
wait, Lisa, you're muted.
a whole other way of doing
Right.
things.
At what point in the production process is the right time to go after a celebrity EP?
before
Let's
you've
say
pre
it's not like
before
a
you've
friend of
premiered. Yeah,
yours.
before you've premiered at a film festival. So like, leading into the ramp of it's going to premiere somewhere, that would excite a potential person to align with your movie, that, oh, this movie is going to play and I'll be there, and this is part of, again, this is very crass and commercial, but then it becomes part of their brand. And that's important for people in the entertainment industry, and you're kind of exploiting that loophole.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we could have had like a Joni Mitchell, or we could have had, I mean, I had Barbara Streisand work on the film for 8 months.
Yep.
But she helped me, but I didn't ask her for something like that. And I should have, um, because I didn't want to ask her. She was working so much with me back and forth in her section for 8 months that I felt like she gave so much. I didn't want to be another person asking her for something. But it's different when you're going straight in and you're just saying, "Hey, I'm making a movie about food. I'm going to ask, this sh famous chef to come on
Hmm.
board as an executive producer." I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. So that last question, Jeremy, when did you decide to go with streaming? When did you decide to, Lisa said kind of in the beginning, you said no, 6 months. When was that sweet spot where you said, you know what, I'm going to put it on Amazon Prime and do this on my own?
That was triggered by the fact that we were doing really well in theatrical, and we were getting a lot of publicity. We were in a lot of theaters, we were in a lot of cities, we had like a very high awareness. So we wanted to take advantage of that on our own, and not just, again, this is, there's a theme that I'm definitely saying over this panel, which is, we didn't want to just say like yes to HBO Max or Netflix. We wanted to be able to own it ourselves. So we decided to, okay, well, we'll put it on Amazon and iTunes right after all the theatrical. But our theatrical was 6 months.
Okay.
So yeah.
So why not, somebody just said Film Hub? How about, one of
Film Hub is certainly, these are aggregators, right? Which is just another term that everybody will learn or already knows. Film Hub is an aggregator. There's a lot of good ones. Giant is another one. And they are companies that will help navigate to put your film on all the streaming services, and then they take a cut. And they're all pretty good. They're there's a lot of content. There's a lot of they're dealing with a lot of movies out there, and they're putting out a lot of movies on digital, but those are the access points is going through an aggregator.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Does anybody have a question? I'm going to open this up to questions now. And I know we have a lot of questions in the chat,
Jeremy,
but
there was a question in the chat to ask you to expand on what are the sorts of things that celebrity executive producers can do for you.
They're
And like
mostly
for example, I know
just,
yours went on the Jimmy Fallon show, and
yeah, I mean, on a one level, they're cheerleaders and champions, and on another level, they're making calls to buyers and distributors and, potential bookers. Other times, they're showing up at Q&As, as we've pointed out, and I think Heather pointed that out too. Like, theaters go nuts for Q&As. So, like, if there's any opportunity where it's like somebody famous, that's going to immediately change just the numbers quite a bit on any movie, if that person can show up for a Q&A. So that's also something. And just also, it's sometimes just visibility, the name on a poster, that like, oh, this, I recognize that person's name, and that helps me decide that this movie is worth my $5.
yeah.
So, and they don't have to do anything for that.
And somebody else just asked if there's a shelf life. Who?
That's a Lisa question.
I mean, do you feel like there's a shelf life, you guys? For
no,
any?
I think you can. Uh, I think there's flexibility around that. Like, I don't know, let's say your movie premiered at a film festival in 2025. I think you can do your theatrical run in 2028. Like, depends. I don't think that, I mean, I did mine, um, mine was half a year after the festival premiere. And then I continued doing festivals during my theatrical and beyond my theatrical.
Yeah, that was the
But
thing.
I think there's different,
There's a
yeah,
shelf life if you want to do an awards run because you have to hit marks, and you have to have certain amount of, you have to hit that Oscar qualifying run, um, and you can't do it the following year. There's rules, and then I just want to let you know most of the airline distributors said that we were way too old. That's for them to consider. So if you're going to go to airlines, we got lucky and we found somebody who was excited about the film, but you should go while you're in your film festival. I mean, that's at least that's the feedback that I got from all of the bigger players that said no to us. That you're old if you're not coming out in the year that it says on IMDb, and so
But
be careful
yeah,
what year that is.
yeah, be careful, but at the same time, if your movie is doing fantastically well and it took a little while, like ours, all of a sudden some of those rules do get kind of convoluted and they do kind of vacillate. So that's kind of that's kind of that gray area where I think it's really exciting that don't quit when someone tells you no. That's like the probably the most important thing. Is there okay, so a lot of people have asked this expiration date. So, Data Matrix, did they capture with your theatrical runs? What
yes.
numbers
So
do you use? And
Jeremy and I both would report numbers every week to the trades so that our box office numbers would be updated every week on like IMDb Pro Box Office Mojo, and the theaters will send you the reports. I mean, in some cases with certain theaters, you gotta like call the theater to. I mean, it depends like how quickly, like opening week, like I guess earlier on in my release, I don't know about Jeremy, but like we were reporting numbers more more on like a daily, like we were getting the numbers updated more often at the very beginning because it mattered more. But then as it kind of got further into it, like we would update weekly. Uh, yeah.
so can
And you
you
can self-report.
Yeah.
that's
You can self-report. You can just call the box off, get the box office report as quick as you can, and you have to be friendly and nice, but like, can we please have this? We're self-reporting. And then oftentimes they'll give it to you the following week. Um, you can self-report with the numbers, you can self-report with Box Office Mojo. If you didn't start reporting, you can start whenever you decide to. You can report from the past.
You don't need
Um,
Comstar in order to report. Comstar is an expensive subscription that like professional bookers have the subscription, and that's like a quicker way to like retrieve the box office numbers from theaters because the theaters are reporting to Comstar, but it's a very expensive subscription, and another way to get the numbers, like Heather just said, to contact the theaters directly.
and
And I did it we had Comstar like in the beginning, like through like we were logging into a friend's, it might have been like a friend's account
yeah.
even. And then that person didn't continue their subscription anymore, so we kind of had to like start doing it more manually. But anyways, you can do it.
but
And
but you need to do that because if you want to be taken seriously by the industry,
Comscore.
you have to let them know what you're making at the box office. Like, Jeremy has like I mean, any film that he brings to a theater, he can always say, "My last film, we self-distributed and it made $1 million."
Mhm. And
I mean, ours only we're still in it, but we've made like 84,000. And that's a lot for an art documentary, you know.
It's great.
So just
Yeah, and
keep
the
at
theaters
it.
are looking at this. It's not, this
Yeah.
isn't just for vanity. It like
Yeah.
theaters are looking at the data. We've become, even in the independent exhibition, things have become more data driven, more based on numbers. So like any way that you could goose those numbers, help tell that story, it's gonna help your film.
Yeah, somebody's asking, how do I get butts in seats? Again, social media, build your audience beforehand.
Get
Um,
to the street. Tell them to come.
and get your get
And
just
have good content, good materials, spend time really going hard at your movie poster. Think about it, your trailer, work on it, show it to people, test it. It's all everything, in our case, we didn't want to do anything like just navel gazing. We were like looking how do people respond to things, and trying to, understand what would work better in the marketplace.
and somebody's asking about can the idea of packaging shorts. I've seen this a lot of places.
Yeah.
They have several shorts. So yeah, if you can find three other shorts that are doing really well, package them. Yeah. I mean, it's all about also being an entrepreneur and figuring out where's the money in this? Where's the business side of this?
Yeah, and what you're going to be doing is saying, "Hey, we're going to bring 4 or 5 films. They're all going to promise to bring at least 10 people. So you're going to have a guarantee of, 50, 60 people. Like you can start in that way before you can prove yourself and use these like gambits to like, if they're not going to book you right away, maybe, tell them that you're going to guarantee that everybody's going to bring 10 friends. And then when you fill the house and everybody loves it and is looking forward to the next time, maybe you don't have to, you know, promise that.
Yeah, that some we've got Christian Titch that says that The Invisible Mammal is her current film and it's on Kinema.
Cinema.
And we've used it to book all of our community screenings. And everyone who hosts a screening on Kinema has told us that they thought that the platform was really easy to use. So she's enjoying it so far, and that's good to know, right? I know that that there's report cards that come out about, different companies, and so that's also helpful. What were you going to say, Lisa?
I was going to say that we've been talking primarily about domestic self-distribution. However, I I feel like I should give a disclaimer that I feel a little befuddled by the whole rest of the world, and that I ha don't I I mean, I'm excited to figure it out how to self-distribute better in other countries, but the best I've been able to figure out so far is uploading to Amazon Prime Video Direct in the territories that it allows, which is US, Germany, UK, and Japan. And so I have, made versions of the film that work, language wise for their requirements, but that's as far as I've been able to get in terms of international self-distribution.
Yeah, I we just started playing internationally. We just played Madrid and Malaga and Paris, and that was insane. And it's so funny because I have this chip on my shoulder that Britain's going to be really hard. And then Heather's like, "That was our first one we ever got. Britain was easy." And I'm just like, "Oh my gosh." So I just think the world's all connected now. And these stories that we tell ourselves are really important, that we're not putting limits on boundaries. I mean, my God, people can live inside apartments in the mall. So, no,
FYI, there is an independent filmmaker in the UK who is like knocking it out of the park. He has this little niche documentary that he made. It's about grief and it's called The Nettle Dress. I'll drop it in the chat. Um, but I've been chatting with him on Instagram, and he's befuddled about American, but he's like nailing it. What I do is like I just try to follow along, like who's open to an independent film,
No.
and so, if you're interested in going to the UK, you can follow along his experience. I mean, he's just so many theaters. And he's just doing what we're doing, just independently booking it. He doesn't have a booker from unless he's gotten one along the way, but the nettle dress. It's a really
We did
great story.
a convalescent home this morning in Florida, and I did a Q&A virtually, and we got paid well, and I we had 300 people there. And I don't know how they had 300
Wow.
people. I was like, "Oh my God, how did they get 300 people here?" But they did. So, I mean, it's just there's a whole world that wants to see your film. And one of the best things Jeremy said tonight was everyone's going to tell you your movie's not good enough. And it's good enough. And sometimes it's great. And there's always a niche audience that's going to love your film, you know? There's always an audience for your film, I think, unless it's just complete crap, which I guess is possible. But I definitely think there's even an audience for that.
There is.
I think we have a couple of last questions here.
Yeah,
We have
Julie, do we have time for a couple people that have had their hands
yes,
raised for a
please.
while? Okay.
Yes, go for it. Kelly, why don't you
Let's
call?
go with Kim Connor. You've had yours raised a while.
Thank you so much. This is wonderful. First off, I'm so thankful that you guys are taking out your time to do this. This is really, really helpful. I did a small, very, very limited theatrical four-walled it to 5 major cities, and it was a challenge. So I was barely able to even break even. So I'm just like wondering, like I did it for like to get the word out about the film, to build my audience, to kind of, get people thinking about talking about it or whatever. And now it's available on Prime. So I guess the biggest challenge, I guess, for me was just the question of what you kind of answered. It sounds like sponsorships are a way to make this happen. It sounds like partnering with other companies, executive producers, and so forth. But I'm just questioning, like, was it worth it? Like, it was great to bring out my friends and the, people that I know, like, really love film. But I have to ask myself, if I barely am able to break even, is it worth it to go through that process to get the word out? Is it worth the process to kind of get the word out about the film, to do it, even if I'm just breaking even in 5 major cities?
Filmmaking is not for wimps, and I would say something cruder if we weren't being filmed. I've talked to Lois Bosson at PBS, and her first thing is, "Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't make films. It's too hard." But it's such an individual thing. I keep coming back for more, man. I'm 30 years into this. What do you think,
I think
Jeremy?
it's cumulative, though, isn't
Yeah,
it?
but I would also say that like there's 100 years of evidence that the putting your movie in theaters is what would be called a loss leader. That you're doing it for not necessarily to make money, but you're doing it for to get the word out, to get the film out there, to get people aware of it, and ultimately that will help it in the long run. And it may translate to 5 years of finding little bits of revenue, but it's part of kind of the strategy of releasing a film that you put it out in theaters, and that's where you're going to get most of the attention, and you're
Yeah.
going to use that to then leverage the rest of its life.
That was
Yeah.
my thinking. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you
Kelly,
so much. Amita, you've had your hand raised well, and we only have time for like
Okay.
this
I
one and
just
maybe one
wanted
other.
to know what's the deal with aggregators? What sort of deals does one expect from them? Is it a percentage thing? Do they take your film and give you a
It's a
percentage?
percentage. Yeah.
And
And
what
it could
kind of
be it
percentage?
could be anywhere from 75-25, where you're getting the 75, to
Okay.
50-50, to 60-40, where they're taking 60. It sort of depends on how you negotiate it. It's not one size fits all, and which company, and which, how what you're coming in with, if you have already some built-in audience, or those kind of things. But usually the conversation is probably starting at around 50-50, but then going from there.
My aggregator gets 85. Sorry. I get
You
85%.
get 85. It's
Yeah.
85-15.
Yeah.
That's a really good deal.
But it's
Yeah.
good to know that that exists, you know?
Well,
Is it Bitmax?
no, it's
And
Brainstorm.
Bitmax is another good one that people
Brainstorm.
are using.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Brainstorm.
But I don't,
Brainstorm is another one is a company that also is really good at like placement on like cable systems, like when you're
yeah.
at like hotels
Yeah.
and going through your cable
Yeah.
box. Yeah.
I, w-
Um,
I will say though that unless you have a film that you think is going to do really well on like, because it's for me, it's been a small sliver, like what Jeremy's talking about right now, like getting it onto like pay-per-view. Like that's not my like most like 90% of my stuff that Brainstorm does for me is rentals and downloads on Amazon. Then the next biggest one is Apple TV, and then everything else is really small. And because Amazon Prime Video Direct lets you upload directly in the United States, and then every month they directly deposit into your bank account 50%. And I mean, because keep in mind, like, if Amazon's giving you 50% directly and they're like the main place people are going to see your movie, or you could like have an aggregator put it on Amazon and then the aggregator takes their percentage of the 50. My aggregator has a slightly better deal with Amazon than 50/50. I think they have like it might be like a 65 or a 7, like where my aggregator gets anyways, but yeah, I just think it's so nice with Amazon Prime Video Direct how they deposit direct, and I don't like in which means you wouldn't be on all of the various platforms that an aggregator could get you on, but like having control over your money and like not having to that's
You
anyways.
can't do that anymore in America, though.
What?
If you don't already have an established account, like maybe you do, and you can probably upload another film. But word on the street is that if you do not have an account, they are not allowing you to do that anymore. So everybody go to Lisa, and she'll distribute your film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
uh,
So do we have any other, what was your
do
question?
aggregators only do digital or do they also do DVDs? Because the libraries are telling me that they only take DVDs, public libraries. So producing DVDs is quite expensive.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but I don't think the aggregators are doing DVDs. But you are right that public libraries are interested in your film, but it would need to be on DVD or Blu-ray.
And Kelly, was there any other questions?
The libraries also have access to films through services like Canopy
Hmm.
or is it Overdrive? I don't there's
Ovid.
maybe yeah. But I mean there's uh it's possible. Jeremy, you made your own DVDs, right?
No, we had a deal with a company, but
No, but
I've
I mean
made
like you don't
my own
have a DVD
DVDs, and
distributor, right?
yeah, I in the past I've had DVDs. I've worked with independent companies, and then we placed them in libraries, or they helped, fulfill that.
Kelly, any other questions?
Nobody has their hand raised right now, and I think the panelists have been really great about trying to answer questions in the chat while also talking, so that's been amazing.
Oh, you guys have all
So there,
been so amazing. I mean,
yeah,
really so amazing. I'm gonna go ahead and just see if there aren't any last questions. I'm gonna go ahead and do some closing remarks here. And I just want to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart. I've been anticipating this event and really excited about being able to pick your brains. And the thing that's so nice for me is that I've been able to talk with Lisa and Heather throughout the years. And you guys have picked me up in some of my darkest moments, and I just really want to thank you guys for being there and for giving advice to our members and as well as all of the people that will watch this later on. So thank you so much to our panelists. It's invaluable insight and experiences, and independent filmmakers continue to prove that our visions and our persistence and our creativity and our strategies that we can, connect directly with our audiences and thrive. And so you guys are remarkable, and what you've done is remarkable, and your films are remarkable. So if you haven't seen their films, please, you have to see their films. Drop your films in the chat so people can
I
watch
will.
them. And thank you also to our community partners, everyone here tonight for supporting Women in Film San Francisco Bay Area. Um, Before we wrap it up, a quick announcement. Our next event is our annual holiday party. And so we're going to be connecting at Caffeinated. And if you go to our website, you'll be able to find that. We also have a script incubator on December 15th. Writers and actors, they come together. And that also is in the chat. So if you'd like to collaborate on that, go to our chat. And then join our Oakland and San Francisco meetups. So we have details also on wifsfba.org on our meetups. So we have lots of meetups, and visit Bonfire. So we're doing all kinds of merchandise right now for the holidays, scarves. You can get sweatshirts that say director, producer, whatever, but they're just really fun and help to give back. We need your help as much as possible. And so if you just go to Women in Film San Francisco Bay Area.org, you will find all that information. And then we have a membership discount for tonight. New or renewing members receive $15 off at 1 year membership with the code Distribute15. And that's valid through December 12th, 2025. So go ahead and jump on that. That's Distribute15th. And Nicole put that in the chat as well. And just as we head into the holiday season, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to all of you and all of our members because you guys keep doing this, and it's hard. It's really, really grinding and hard work, but you guys keep doing it. So thank you for showing up, and thank you for helping make the world better, because we need the world to be better. And may you all have a healthy and happy holiday season. And on behalf of Women in Film San Francisco Bay Area, I just want to thank you all so much for your courage and your support. Happy holidays, and bye, and drive safe, everyone, because I know you're driving tonight, right? Okay, that's my joke that I always say. It's not funny, and I get no courtesy laughs. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.